Hey everyone, it's Marshall Atkinson. So thank you for joining us today for our webinar, Write a Shop Business Plan. So let's get started. The first thing I want to just point out is that you can contact me at marshall@inksoft.com. And also if you need to, just give me a ring at 480-351-0740. Happy to help you guys if you get stuck or have a question. So just shoot me an email. We will be recording this webinar, so look for that on our social media channels later. So today's objective is to review best practices to write a basic lean startup type business plan that you can use to focus your business strategy. So what do we mean by that? So today we're going to discuss a couple things. First is business plan formats. I'm going to go over the traditional business plan idea, and then also, just real briefly, and then also the lean startup method, which is the one we're doing. We're also going to talk about business plan prep, what you'll need to be able to write a business plan, and then what are the different sections that you're going to need to know and what they mean and how to use them. We're going to talk about actually writing the plan. We're going to talk about how to use the plan. So once you've written it, what do you do with this thing? You want to be able to use it. So we're going to kind of discuss that a little bit. And then the first thing we want to get to is really the number one idea here is start with why. Why would you go to the trouble of writing a business plan? So let's kind of discuss that for a minute. So it's a lot of effort. It's going to take some time, so why would you do it? What's the benefit? The first thing is some tangible benefits that you can immediately see. The first is there's a ready, aim, fire kind of idea here. So it's a good business plan. It's going to provide the aim. So imagine you got a rifle, or you've got a bow and arrow, or a slingshot, or you're chucking a rock or a baseball. The first thing you do is you aim so you can hit the target, so you can that baseball can get to where you want it to go, right? This is the same thing with a business. So if you don't have a business plan, if you're running your shop and somebody asks you, well, who do you sell to? And your response is, well, anybody who walks through the door. You're not aiming. You're all over the place. So the reason that really doesn't work is because you need some direction. And once you've established that direction, once you've established where the bullseye is, all of your effort can be spent trying to aim into that bullseye. And that's what we want. So ready, aim, fire. You don't want ready, fire, aim, which is what a lot of people do. You want ready, aim, fire. The next is we want to provide a roadmap that's going to structure, run, and grow your business. So if we have a target and we know who our customers are and we know what we can do and we are going to write our value proposition and we know what we're going to do, we can set some really good SMART goals. We can figure things out for a year, 3, 5 years down the road, and we can develop all this and we can try to hit our landmarks and benchmark ourselves along the way so we can get the growth that we need. That's going to be profitable growth that isn't going to drive us insane. That's going to be more easily ready to achieve. So that's what we really kind of do here is we're going to provide a roadmap. It can help you get funding. For example, you want to go out and buy a new auto and a dryer and spend $150,000 or $200,000. Your banker might go, hey, let me see your business plan. So this is what we're talking about. And then also it can help you bring on new business partners. So maybe you're a screen print shop and you want to partner up with an embroidery company and you guys band services together. You're going to want to create a business plan so you guys can work together and succeed and be profitable as business partners. A business plan will help you do that. It's going to help you sort out the noise. So if, for instance, your target order you're trying to achieve is 144 pieces or 500 pieces or whatever, then you won't worry about that 12-piece order at all because that's not really what you're wanting to do. That's not profitable for you. It's kind of a waste of your time. It's just noise. So you want it. That's why we're trying to find that bullseye. It's going to help you sort out that noise. So there's two types of plans. generally, this is where we go. The first one is their traditional business plan, which is very detailed, it's comprehensive, and quite honestly, it takes a really long time to write. I've written these before. There's a lot of research. You're still going to do research, but this just gets everything kind of crazy. It talks about accounting and a lot of things. So lenders and investors will commonly request this type of plan. So if that's you that needs to go get that loan, this is the business plan that they're going to ask for. It's not really what we're talking about today. If you'd like to find a template for this, you can find a free one at the Small Business Administration, which is sba.gov. And there's a free template. I've been recommending it for at least a decade or so. Just go there, click the link, create an account, and start writing your plan. But what we're going to talk about today is what's called a lean startup plan. So this is very easy to write. It's super high level focus and contains really only the key elements. So again, if you need a loan or you're trying to get investors in your company, then you might need the more detailed one. But what we're trying to do is we're trying to build a business plan that we can use for direction for our journey. And the kind of the analogy that I've talked to people before is this is kind of like an iceberg. Okay, so I want you to picture an iceberg. I know you've seen that picture or that drawing before of the iceberg where there's only so much that sticks out of the water and then there's this huge amount of stuff that's underneath. Okay, so the research and all the stuff that I'm fixing to talk about is that under the water stuff. Okay, what we're going to write on our business plan page, because we're going to write a one-page business plan, is only the stuff that's above the water. Okay, so there's so much that goes underneath it that it's going to help you strategize and understand everything so you can write a business plan that you can just put down on one page. All right, so it's really important to understand that. So let's go get started here. So we're going to start about the lean startup plan. It has 8 common elements, and we're going to boil everything down into a simple one-page plan. So what are these things? So first is your key partnerships, okay? These are the other businesses or services you need. So this is your suppliers, your ink vendor, where you get your emulsion, where you get your shirts. You know, it's FedEx, it's UPS, could be your bank, it could be the Chamber of Commerce in your area, it could be that millennial that you hire to do your social media marketing, whatever. It's these key partnerships that you need. So we're going to talk about that in a minute, but I just want to kind of outline all the different things we're going to talk about. The next thing is the key activities, right? So what are the ways your shop is going to gain a competitive advantage over some guy down the street? What are your key activities? Define these. That's what we're going to do. We're going to talk about that. What are your key resources? What can you leverage to create value? Do you have a certification? Do you have like a women-owned or a minority status? Is there something, maybe you're a veteran? What can you leverage that's going to create value in the marketplace that you serve? And then what is your value proposition? We want to write a clear statement about what makes your shop unique. And so another way of putting this, I'm sure you've heard it before, was what's your elevator speech, right? So if you're trapped in an elevator with somebody, or you meet somebody at a trade show or at the softball game and they go, what do you do? What are the 2 or 3 sentences that you're going to say? What's the value proposition? What do you say that's really going to elevate you above everybody else? That's your value proposition. Then we're going to also talk about the customer experience. We're going to describe that interaction. So when somebody calls you on the phone, how do you answer the phone? What is the voice that your brand has? Are you funny? Are you thoughtful? Are you knowledgeable? Are you authority on things? Do you present creativity? What do you do? What is the customer experience? So you're going to describe that interaction in detail And that way you kind of have a script on how you want your company to run. What is your customer? What do they think about you when they look at you from the outside in? That's that customer experience. And then, of course, we're going to talk about the customer segment. This is super specific regarding your target market. So this isn't like anybody who needs shirts. You're going to define your customer segment into we target sports teams or high schools, or we specifically do safety and work apparel for industry, or we do things for the military organizations, or we do stuff that goes straight to retail, or we're a contract printer for other garment decorators, whatever. What is your customer segment? You want to be super specific about that, because that's going to help you define your market, how you do your advertising, how you write your budgets, how you think about things, the people that you hire, all kinds of things are all based on this one idea. And then your customer channel. So where are your customers? So a thing I read a while ago was you got to think about marketing like hunting. So you hunt where the deer live. You don't hunt at the Walmart parking lot. You hunt in the woods where the deer live. So it's the same thing for your customers. So where are they? Are they on Facebook? Are they on Twitter? Do they not do social media at all? And you got to go meet them in a trade show. So you have to figure out, first off, your customer segment, and then where are they on social media? And then the last thing we're going to talk about today is really your revenue stream. So how are you making money? You need to list all the ways that you're making money. So, and you might have multiple revenue streams, and you might have to write a small business plan for each of them because maybe you have to do different things. So it's just one of these things that we want to talk about that. How are you making money? So let's get down to it. So the first thing is key partnerships. So these are the business services that you'll need to operate your shop. And these are the suppliers, manufacturers, subcontractors, or strategic partners. And you're going to need to know, how do they operate? Do they have a price list? Do they have a website? Do they have fees? Is there a membership thing like Amazon Prime? What are their payment terms? Do you have to pay 100% up front? Do you get terms? Do you have to use a credit card? If you're a new business, maybe you're just opening up your shop right now, you have to know all this stuff. You can't just get going. You need to kind of do some research and start an account, write them, get all your licensings together and everything so you can open an account with some people. First off, you have to find out who serves you best, and then how do they operate. And so this is a key thing to know. And then, of course, if with these companies, are you going to get a rep? Who are they? How do you get a hold of them? What's their email address and phone number? And what's the best time to call? You need to know all that, because trust me, there's going to be a question. There always is a question. And it could be, hey, how do you screen print on a Yeti soft side cooler? What ink do I need? Can I use my normal emulsion and mesh, or I have to do something special? Your ink rep will know the answer to that. And so you need to be able to get a hold of people when somebody requests a quote and you're not really sure what to do. This is why you need to know contact names and information. And then geographically, where are they? Are they in your same city, in your same states? When you order shirts for them, is it a one-day ground ship or two? This really matters, because your turn times are super important in this industry. And if you have to order shirts and something's due Friday and today's Monday, you're 3 days away, but it's going to take 4 days to print the order or something, you're already behind the time. So shipping lanes are super important. So you need to kind of find out who you can deal with in your area, and geographically, where are they? So that's really important. And then another thing is, do they offer training? So some companies in this industry, they have a headquarters or main office, and then once a quarter or so, they'll have a training thing where you can come in and you can learn stuff, and they offer little mini seminars. They might have webinars like we're doing right now. They might even come to your shop and teach you stuff. I've done that before. So do they offer that? And is it free? Is there a service you have to pay? So it's really important to find that, because the one thing that you want in this industry is information. And so training is part of that, and they can help you get better. So let's talk about key activities. So this is all about market differentiation. So what sets you apart from any other Yahoo down the street? What makes you different? So first off, you need to know what your competition is doing. You know what you do, but what are they doing? And so once you define that, it's easy to balance your conversation, because you know maybe you've got better artists, or you know you've got faster turn times, or you know that you've got free delivery, or you know you've got whatever you have. You can pitch your argument against what they're doing. So it's really important that you stay up with and research your competition, so you can have that argument with potential customers in the marketplace. You have to know what they're doing. And so this means you got to follow them on social media. You got to pay attention to what they're doing. You got to have people share with you. Oh, hey, did you see that latest video they just came out with? Whatever. You need that information, because that's going to help you run your business better. The next is what's going on in the industry in general. So where's it heading? You could really argue that because of companies like Amazon and others, or even just drive-through fast food, everybody has zero patience. We want things now. So if you're a shop that's still trying to make it with a 7 to 10 day window, I got news for you, that's closing up. A lot of shops are running theirs on 5 to 7 days, and I know tons of shops that run on 3 to 5. But the main drivers in this industry, Amazon, for example, they're doing things, and they're printing, by the way, they're doing things in 1 to 2 days, same day. So if you're not responding to that, I don't know what to tell you. This is why there's a big push right now for DTG and digital work. Our order sizes are coming down. So this idea might not touch the business segment that you work in, but it might. So you need to know this type of things and pay attention. So how do you find that? You read the trade publications, impressions, printware, images, screen printing, the SGIA journal, my blog, different things. You just pay attention to what's going on, and that way you kind of know what's up. And then you kind of need to know what your target customer values the most. So it doesn't really matter if you offer next day shipping if they're happy with ordering in 10 days. Or guess what? You've got a tremendous bank of artists, but they're going to supply their own art. They don't care about the artists that you have on staff. So what does your target customer value the most? What is their pain point? If you know that, you can sell to them so much easier, because you're presenting them with a solution. So if they have a headache, you're giving them the aspirin. So that's what's going to make it work for you. But first off, you have to find out what is their pain. And then you need to list everything that's going to make you sticky to this client. And by sticky, I mean, it doesn't matter what you charge. They're not going anywhere, because you're solving their pain for them. And once you do that, and you're kind of reasonable with your pricing, they're not going anywhere. I don't mean that you need to just crazy gouge people. But what I mean is, what you want to do is you want to provide them with so much value that it would just seem ludicrous for them to go call anybody else. And once you have that going, man, you're rocking and rolling. So list everything that can make you sticky for that. And then for everything on your list, how are you going to do that? So for instance, if you want to create more value with your client, you want to take their pain away, if you want to make things easy for them, what is that solution and how are you going to do it? So maybe that could be an online store. It could be maybe you're redesigning their logo for them. It could be free art. It could be all kinds of things. So how are you going to do that? Maybe you don't have that solution right now, but you can get it. So list how are you going to do it. So let's talk about key resources. And by this, we're talking about things that we can leverage that's going to create that value. So this could be your staff on hand. Maybe Billy's been in the business for 20 years, or Susie is the best artist in the United States. It could be your capital. Maybe you're like Mr. Moneybags and got lots of money, and it really helps your business grow. Or maybe you've invented something or got some intellectual property that's going to leverage and create value. For instance, at InkSoft, we do these podcasts called The Big Idea. That's intellectual property. You could do your own podcast or your own little mini show or a video or a webinar that helps your customers understand things that creates that value. You could also have some sort of social status. You could be a women-owned or veteran, or maybe Native American, or maybe you're a minority-owned business. Maybe your customers, that makes sense to them because they want to align with people that have a similar background, and then you're their champion. So find out if that matters to your customers. So we're going to need to know some things. First is, that's what I just said, what is important to your customers? For example, if you're doing a lot of military stuff and you're an ex-Marine, that might really matter to that unit, right? But if you're just doing something for the local bars and restaurants and you're an ex-Marine, it might not matter as much because maybe they value something higher. So you need to find out what's important to your customers. A great way of doing that is, of course, just asking them, do a survey or talk to them one-on-one. Also, what technology are you using that can help? So do you have an app? Do you have a web store? Do you have some sort of delivery thing? What do you have? DTG printing? What technology are you using that's really going to help with your market? Do you have any certifications or ratings? An example of this could be the Sustainable Green Printing Partnership certification you can get that proves that you're a green business, right? So if you have that and your customers care about sustainability, you're right up there with their top choice. So you need to be able to find out what certifications matter to your customers. And then if you don't have it, guess what? You got to go get it. And then what do you have that's going to build trust with your customer? And what a great thing it is when you have customers talking about how great you are. So influencer marketing is such a key thing for trust. So if you can get customers to film little videos or maybe write a testimonial, and you can put that on your website or a Facebook page or whatever, that builds lots of trust with your customers. So you gotta get that. You gotta film that. You gotta ask permission and kind of make that happen. It doesn't just happen by itself. And then, of course, like I was just saying, if you don't have something, how are you going to get it? So think about that. So the next thing is value proposition. This is something I think a lot of printers don't spend a lot of time on. So let's kind of hit this. So this is the secret weapon. All right. So you want to write a clear and compelling statement of what your shop brings to market. And the key idea here is, how can you sell your services if you can't articulate your value? So if you can't tell somebody without sounding like you're bragging, right? If you can't tell somebody how you're the best or how you succeed or what's your secret sauce or whatever, then how are you going to even market your company? So we want to create your value proposition. So here's some things you got to think about. One is understand your target market. So invest time in research. So I've mentioned this before, but your value proposition should be in alignment with what your customers value. So what is their big need? What do they want? What do they value? And do you offer that? So really kind of make sure you have that in alignment. Another great trick is to create a buyer persona. This is really just establishing the who, right? So let's just say, for example, you market to high schools in your state. All right. So you do all their football and cheerleading and Latin club stuff, whatever. You're doing all the shirts for all the different schools, right? So who is the buyer? Is that the principal? Is that the athletic director? Is that the district office, government school administrator person? Who are these people? So you can kind of create a fake buyer persona if you haven't closed the deal. If let's say it's the football coach, he's probably 45 to probably 60 years old. He used to be an athlete. You kind of know what a coach is like. This is kind of what you're kind of thinking about when you think of a coach. How would you talk to him? What do you think his pain points are? What would he rather be doing than ordering shirts? And so you can construct your marketing plan, your email, your video, all of your stuff. If you think about him when you're creating that, it's going to be so much easier than just not using kind of a buyer persona. And then on the other hand, if you're dealing with the school administrator, this is probably somebody completely different in personality. So this could be a woman. Maybe she used to be a teacher, and she's probably in her 50s or late 40s, but she's got boxes that she has to check, right? So she wants to make sure that you've got a bunch of stuff. So you've got a business license, and maybe you've got insurance, and maybe you've got an easy way to order, and that you can submit POs, and that you'll take payment in 30 days or 60 days or whatever their plan is. So this is that who, right? So marketing, your value proposition could be different to these different people, even though you're offering the same thing. So kind of give that some thought. The next is kind of think about your competition. So what are they doing? And then what is your why? So if they're doing X, right, and you want to market Z, okay, you can market against X by showing the benefit of why Z is better. So you kind of need to know what your competition is doing. So when you construct your value proposition, you're just eliminating them. But if you don't know what they're doing and you're not paying attention, then how are you going to write that? So make sure you kind of understand that. And then this is super important. So what is the number one thing that resonates with your customers? What's the primary benefit? If you boiled everything down to one thing, what would that be? And this goes beyond just putting ink on cotton or sewing a logo on a polo, right? Because anybody can do that. What is the primary benefit? What's the number one thing that somebody wants? Okay, figure that out. And then the last thing, and I know that what you were thinking for the last one, don't compete on price. Okay, it's a race to the bottom. You just don't want to go there. What you want to compete on is value. So what are you bringing to the table that's so much better than anybody else that people will happily pay you what you want to charge for it? So think about two things. And one is you could sleep at a Motel 6. It's a hotel room. It's got a bed. It's got a TV. It's got a shower and a toilet and all that. Or you could stay at the Ritz-Carlton. Okay, they offer a room. They have a bed. They've got a bathroom. They've got TV. They've got everything else but they've got so much more. And they're charging, 5, 6, 7, 8 times what the Motel 6 charges. So it's like one of these things where if you think you can't, if you have to just compete on price, it's the only way you can win. Okay, I'm telling you that you're being misled, right? So you have to figure out how you're going to be Ritz-Carlton. How are you going to offer so much more that people will happily pay you? They'll see the value in what you're doing. So don't race to the bottom. Try to compete on value. Try to compete on, this is what I'm bringing. I'm so much better than everybody else. And just be confident in that. So let's talk about customer interaction for a minute. And so this is really about their experience. So how does a customer interact with your shop? Do they come in the front door? Is there a lobby? Who greets them? Do they just do everything online? Do they do it by email? How do you get a quote? How do you get an art approval? How do you answer the phone? You need to detail that entire customer experience from start to finish. Okay, this is also called branding, by the way. Detail everything from start to finish, and that way you'll know how you want to run your business, and you'll also know what resonates with your customers. So let's talk about this briefly. How do your customers interact now, and what don't they like? So if you're an established business, do a survey. What don't they like about the experience? For example, maybe they ask for a quote and it takes until tomorrow for somebody to answer them back. They don't like that. They would rather have a way that they can do it instantly or within, a couple minutes or whatever. So how can you make that experience better? So kind of figure that out. Next is, the survey. Have you ever asked your customers their opinion? If you haven't, why not? There's great tools out there. You can use SurveyMonkey. You could just make your own Google survey. It's free. And, I wouldn't do more than a couple questions, because every single question you add to the survey makes it least likely that somebody's going to respond, because it feels more like a test. So kind of just do a couple questions, keep it really brief. If you're going to do something like this, give them a couple answers that they can just check A, B, C, D, and then leave an essay box. If they feel like it, they can answer it. Another great way of doing it is with a number. So from 0 to 10, rate us. 10 is awesome. 0 means we suck. So where do we rate? Okay, so you should be getting all 10s. If you're not getting all 10s, then what's going on? And then maybe you can follow up and find out, hey, why did you rate us a 5? And then you'll know why. What are the steps involved in the transaction? So, do I have to create an account? Do you have to do a credit check? Do I have to pay up front? What do I have to do to be able to do business with you? Can I just create a guest account and charge my credit card and I'm done? How easy do you make it to do business with you? So kind of think about that. What is your brand personality and how is that reflected? So here we're talking about what is the voice of your shop? Are you, super funny and you're posting videos about what your shop dog's doing today? Or are you like super serious and you operate from a strong stance of authority? You're the guy, you're the knowledge base and that type of thing. So there's two kind of completely different kind of ideas, but how does your shop reflect that? And does everybody in your company reflect that same character? So when you write an email or you talk on the phone, how you answer the phone, are you, hey, it's shop XYZ, good morning? Or are you like, hey, what's going on? So those are two different ways of answering the phone, but that could be how your shop is reflected. How will you know if you have built a good experience? Again, it's that customer survey thing. So you want to make sure that you're always following up. After you ship an order, do you send off a survey or real quick, hey, how we do? We do that at InkSoft and it works great. So the next thing is, let's talk about customer segments. This is also known as your target market. You may have heard that before. Your shop is going to cater to different markets. It's going to be, maybe it's B2B. It could be schools, could be rock bands, stores. Maybe you've got your own brand. Who knows? So it doesn't really matter. So what we're talking about is you need to define that target market. So what we need to know is, who is that decision maker? So for a restaurant, is that the restaurant owner? Is it the chef? Is it the maitre d'? Is it the HR person? Who does that at the manufacturing plant? You're doing all those safety shirts for, or the orange vests with the logo on the back for that concrete company. Who orders from schools? Who orders from rock bands? Is it the guitar player or is it the band manager who might manage, a dozen or 20 bands? Who's the decision maker here? So you need to find that out for your target market. And then you need to find out, what is their number one pain point? For a rock band, they're on tour. They're going around from city to city to city, and they need merchandise. So their number one pain point could be the fact that they're going to show up in Cleveland tomorrow when they're out of mediums. So how are you solving that problem for them? For a school, it could be they want to raise money because they're trying to put lights on at the football field. So how are you helping with that? So figuring out their pain point is a great way to make you sticky to that customer. How do they typically buy? Do they buy once a year? Do they buy every month? Do they buy, for example, for a business, when they get a new employee, the employee needs 5 shirts? How do they buy? So you have to kind of figure that out and make it work for your business. And then when do they typically buy? That's kind of like how, I guess. But when do they typically buy? It's like, do they order once a quarter? Can you line things up in advance? So right now you're planning on 2 or 3 months down the road. You've got a design already set up. You've built the store and you're just waiting for it to get clicked in, and you've made it easy for them to make that decision. It's really important that you be proactive. And then can you describe their average order, right? So are they ordering 6 shirts? Are they ordering 500? Are they ordering 1,000? Do they never know the quantity and it's only completed after there's a form? What is their average order? And so does that align with your business model? For example, if you wanted to say you wanted your average order to be 144 shirts, 2 cases, is that going to eliminate those 6 shirts for the book club? Are you going to do something for that restaurant that only needs 2 dozen shirts every month? So if you're concentrating on, you want your average order to be 144, and you're focusing your marketing on, I'm only wanting to talk to people who could order at least that. So maybe that's the bigger manufacturing plant, or maybe that is a established business that orders for their gift store and they're doing it in 144 increments for each design. So you want to make sure that you're describing your average order and that it works for your business. So let's talk about customer channels. This is where you're going to find people on social media or for your marketing. So how can you reach them best? And this might be different for each segment. So let's say that you're focusing on schools and business to business. Well, they could have completely different marketing channels. And so you might have to write a marketing plan for each one. One size often doesn't fit all. So the first thing you need to know is that there is a know, like, trust, buy marketing sequence. Okay, so what this means is, so before you get too far into this, you need to know that people need to know who you are, right? So the first thing is brand awareness. That's the know. Who are you? And if they know who you are, the next thing is they got to like you. So if they're liking you, that means you're doing something. So maybe you can post some informative videos, or maybe you can make like a funny little meme or something that they respond to, or maybe you're reposting or liking their social media stuff, so they're immediately going to like you. Sorry, Ryan. So how do you get them to like you? You be authentic, you be yourself, you make sure that you're doing things in a proper way, not to upset people. That's how you get people to like you. It's just like pretending, how do you get people to like you when you meet a new friend? It's the same thing. The next thing is trust. How do you get people to trust you? You have to show that you're an authority. You have to show that you can print on a yoga pant waistband and the ink will stretch and not crack. You have to show that you can embroider on a Carhartt jacket. If you demonstrate that you do things properly, that you ship on time, that you've got customers raving about you, and here's the video of when we delivered those shirts, that establishes the trust. And then if you get people to know, like, and trust you, it makes the buy part of the process so much easier. Most people just don't go straight to buy. They go know, like, trust first. So there's kind of a cycle to this, and this is where marketing comes in. And this is why it's really important that you build your marketing component based on these factors. So the one thing you need to kind of understand is, what social media platforms do your customers use? It doesn't matter what you use. It matters entirely what they use. So you need to be, like I talked about before, you need to be hunting where the deer live. So if your customers are on Facebook, guess what? You're on Facebook. If they're on Instagram, you should be on Instagram. If they don't do anything, and maybe the best thing to do is the big billboard in the outfield of the softball stadium. It doesn't really matter. You need to be there where your customers are. And then the next thing is, are you following them? Okay, I go to so many shops' social media channels, and they're following 37 people. You know, they're not doing, their last post was in 2015, but they're constantly talking about they want to grow their business, but they don't do anything with marketing. So it's really one of these things where you need to get out there, you need to participate, you need to follow your customers, you need to like what they're doing, we need to share what they're doing, comment on their stuff. Hey, Fred, love that video you posted last week. Great. People love that stuff. They'll respond to you, and guess what? That's that like factor that I just mentioned. So you need to be doing that. And do you need to do it constantly? No. Should you follow them and just look all the time at what they're doing? You don't have to do that. Once a day or once every couple of days. It doesn't matter, but you need to keep doing it. That's the whole, and be consistent. And then, what networking opportunities are available? Is there a trade show? Is there a Chamber of Commerce event? Is there a, Walk America or American Cancer Society walk? These are all networking opportunities that you could do to go meet your customers if they're participating in those. So define that. Is there an event coming up? Put it on the calendar and go to it. And I hear from so many people who say, yeah, I've tried Chamber of Commerce, it doesn't work. Well, are you active in it? So make sure you do that. Construct a solid calendar-based marketing plan. This means you're putting some targets on a calendar. We need to post something for this event or this holiday, or we want to film a video or do a blog post or make an infographic, whatever. Put some stuff on a date, assign somebody to it, and get it done. And this is how you create a marketing plan. It's all using a calendar. And then review and tweak constantly. So, is it working? When we did that blog video, only 6 people looked at it. Okay, well, you only pushed it out once. You didn't repeat it a lot, and you posted it on the wrong channels. What if you tried a different day or a different time, or maybe look at how you titled it? All this stuff kind of matters. Keep data, keep track of things, and then you'll be able to learn what works, because it doesn't matter how many books you read or who you talk to, even listening to me. It doesn't matter. What matters is what you're doing and what your customers respond to. So that is how you figure this stuff out, because it's all based on the real time, what your customers are doing, and you have to tweak what you're doing all the time, because guess what? What worked last year might not work this year. So you constantly have to be thinking about this stuff. So let's talk about revenue streams. This is just how your shop's going to make money. This should include your sales methodology, fees that you charge, just kind of how you do everything. So first off is you need to know your actual costs. And a lot of shops, when I talk to them, they have no idea what their cost per impression is, but yet they've got a price list. So I ask them, what is their margin? They have no idea what their margin is. So use my 5 buckets example, and I've got 2 things you can find. One is the blog article that I wrote about it. Here's the link. The other is the video where I did a whole webinar just like this on how to use the 5 buckets to establish your cost per impression, and that way you can build an accurate price list based on your costs and how much money you want to make. So this is really important information, and I would start here, especially if you've got a decent amount of sales, but at the end of the year, you're going, hey, how come we didn't make any money? This is exactly for you. And especially if you haven't written a business plan and are just now starting that, this is a great place to start with your actual costs. The next thing is, how are you billing? So are you getting a deposit? It's a 50% up front. Are you getting 100% up front? Do they have to pay you before you do anything? Or maybe you've got terms. You're giving people, net 30 or net 15 or whatever, right? So understand how all of these affect your cash flow. Cash is king. You want money in the bank, right? So it's so much easier to buy those shirts when your customers paid you 100% up front than it is for you to do 50% up front, or maybe you're charging after you've got the work complete, and then you're fronting all the money for the order, and then what happens if they don't pay you or something happens? So it's much easier to do it if you get paid up front. And then here's a key thing. What is your daily break-even amount in sales? I just wrote a blog article about this. I suggest you read it if you got some time. But it's what is your daily break-even amount? So what this means is, if you were to, how much do you have to sell every single day or a week, really, to cover your expenses? Do you know that? So this is all of your overhead. These are all your expenses that you're paying all the time. It's your mortgage and your rent and your machine payment and your electric bill and insurance or whatever. So what's your break-even amount that you need to sell to make sure you're treading water? Not making a profit, just treading water. So you need to understand this so you can build the appropriate revenue stream for that. And then how are you building your pricing? Is it based on value? Is it based on somebody else's price list? Is it based on your costs? Like it's a cost plus model, which is really, you're just marking up the shirts and then you're charging a decoration fee on top. What is your margin? Do you know? So make sure you kind of understand that. That's all about your revenue stream. So I'm going to go into right now is the example business plan that I wrote for the fictional shop I always use, Shop XYZ. And if you want the interactive form that you can download and play with, here is the website, which is just tinyurl.com/Y74A9QXF. And if that's too fast, I suggest you can just email me and I'll send you these slides and you can copy it. So here's the sample business plan. It's got 8 different ideas. Identity, which is just about the shop. The problem they're solving. Here's the solution. The target market. Who is the competition? The revenue streams. How we're going to market. What are our expenses? Who's on our team? And what milestones do we want to hit? So when we're looking at these, let's just read them real quick. So the identity is just really about kind of constructing a couple sentences about who the Shop XYZ is. So Shop XYZ defines themselves as a creative apparel branding consultant that's hyper-focused on the educational system and B2B markets. We sell solutions, not decorating. So the idea here is that they did some research, and instead of just saying, hey, we're putting ink on a shirt or a thread on a shirt, they're selling solutions to problems that their customers have. So they're using consultative selling to find out what are the pain points for these people. What is the pain point for that restaurant or that company or that school? And then they're going to develop a solution to that. And of course, the solution is going to involve printing on apparel, but it could be other things too. So that's kind of their idea, is that they're into branding. They're a branding consultant. They're not just selling ink. They're not just selling embroidery. So they define their problem as schools and businesses that need an easy-to-use solution for program fulfillment, and they don't have the time or skill to manage their own store, right? So what's really cool here is the fact that they've identified exactly who they're searching for, right? So these people all have programs that need fulfillment. So it isn't just, hey, I need 6 shirts because I got a one-off thing. They've got a long-standing program that means they're going to have repeat orders. And repeat orders are great because guess what? It's the same logo. You don't have to do that art approval thing over again. You've done it once, and then you're printing that same logo on the shirt 4 times a year. It's just a reorder. It's great. So this is kind of who they're going after. They're finding people that fit this description. So their solution, our solution, is decorated apparel selling experiences that solve the customer's unique challenges. We make it easy to sell branded merchandise. So that's their solution. Is what they're doing is they're selling the experience. So it's not just we're printing shirts, it's how they're selling it. It's their customer service. It's the fact that they want to elevate that whole conversation into solution, making solutions for customers. And they make it easy. That means they solve somebody's problem. All right, so this is different than just thinking about we're a t-shirt printer. So their target market is customers that can place orders that are over 144 pieces. They'll take the one-offs, but they like to get reorders, but they're really looking for people that can order at least 144 pieces because this is a good profit margin. This is their sweet spot. This is what they've identified. Now remember, this is just for this example shop. This might not be different than for you. So this is just who these people have identified what they're doing, right? So the next thing is the competition, right? So their competitors who go after their same customers, they're only concentrating on price. They're not offering solutions. They make their customer do lots of the work, so they have to fill out the forms or whatever. Their artwork is just kind of average, and their actual product is kind of mediocre in quality in the print or the embroidery or whatever. That's the competition. So they know based on research that they've done way better. And then the next thing is the revenue stream. So this is what they kind of defined it as. They're selling direct to schools and businesses. And of course, they're using the InkSoft online stores platform to capture sales. That's our shameless plug. Okay. The next is marketing activities. Shop XYZ communicates with customers because they have a blog. They do a monthly newsletter. They do targeted social media ads. And they're also following all their customers on the social media platforms they use. And then they're specifically putting things in those channels that drive potential customers who are just like them. And then next, they've identified their expenses, and their cost per imprint is an average of 61 cents. Here's the team players. And then their milestones. This is the goals that they're setting for their business plan. If they want to add 8 online stores per month, they want to average at least $1,600 per month in sales for the store. And they want to have yearly sales growth should be an extra $150,000 per year in new revenue. And they want to have everything at a 53% margin. Those are the key points they want to hit. So if they don't hit those as minimums, then they're going to be adjusting. So this is how they've written their business plan. Yours might be different, and I challenge you to think about the fact that it isn't just filling this chart out without any thinking. Remember, it's the whole idea about the iceberg. So there's this part you're looking at right here is just the part of the iceberg that's above the water. All of that other stuff I talked about for the most of the webinar, that's the huge part of that iceberg that's underneath the water. So all that research was done to write this. And so the challenge for you is to do that part. And I think if you did that part, writing this business plan will be really easy. So that ends our webinar. If you've got any questions, please contact me at marshall@inksoft.com. or give me a shout out on my phone, 480-351-0740. And then also I want to mention the production manager tool that we're building. Currently it's in development. And if you'd like more information on that, you can find it at inksoft.com/production-manager. And thank you for your time and participation.